What is up, y'all? We are back for, what is this, episode 8, I think? Another good episode. It was a good episode. I'm low on energy because I'm tired, not because the episode was bad. It was good. It was a good episode. But, yeah, we're not going to waste no time, so we're going to get into it. But please thumbs up the video. Please drop y'all's comments down below. Subscribe if you're new. Share the video. Do all of that. And, yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get on into this. All right, so we get back to Shane pretty much wanting Frank and Sam out of here so he can regain control of his alliance, which will then free up a star because, as we know, Frank and Sam have a star as well. And also that will get him Veronica back. As we all know, Veronica is kind of like in between Shane and Frank, but she's more so aligned with Frank in terms of his mindset with the game. More so than she is with her actual friend of 20 years, which is Shane. Shane obviously knows with Frank being gone, that could possibly open up a window to get Veronica back full time. Could possibly, but then again, it's like Frank and Veronica are like this now because they have a similar game strategy, whereas Shane has a different one. So I don't know. We'll see. But Veronica ends up saying that she trusts Frank and wishes that Shane will feel the same way and trust Frank too. That's not going to happen, Veronica. But Adam, Frank, and Nicole, they're playing cards, and Turbo's out there sleeping. And they're in the living room area. And he's sleeping in the living room, and we find out that he essentially has been living in the living room, sleeping in the living room for a while now. He just don't want to be in there with them other people. I honestly don't blame him. Me personally, I would want to be in a room by myself too. But they're pretty much walking on eggshells about it because Turbo's in there, and he's mad too because Adam, he ain't a fan of Adam. Adam being there, he said Adam is disgusting, being there farting all the time, leaving rooms smelling like shit. That cracked me up. But Katie, Veronica, Frank, and Adam, they're in a room plotting on Nany and Turbo. And Adam wants to throw in, he wants to know if he can trust Frank to vote his way against Dario and Ashley. And I'm like, Adam, I don't know why you would think that. Because Frank is Frank, but not only that, Frank and Ashley are like this. They literally started TV together. But, I mean, he's trying, so I ain't mad at him for trying. But Frank ends up saying in his confessional that Adam is wild for even thinking that he would turn on his friend of 14 years to work with him when he's already voted him in 4 times, which is what I just said. But Frank goes and pretty much tells him to run around like Dario and Ashley. No, he goes and tells Dario and Ashley to run around with Adam's plan. And says that, and he's like, I would have y'all's back over Adams any day of the week, essentially. But Ashley and Dario, they know that they're vulnerable. They don't really have any numbers in their camp, essentially, because there's not many teams left. The only team that they have that they know that they could fully trust is Frank and Sam. Like, Leroy is gone. And you can tell Dario is low-key regretting that move that he made because his number one ally is gone. And he has to literally rely on Ashley's only number one. But they're alone now. But the next day, we got Turbo. Because the whole house is in the living room. And he's telling them, stop leaving this food around this house, essentially. But he's really saying it around this living room. A, because he lives there. But not only that, I'm fully on Turbo's side. Like, they was tripping out on him, but I'm fully on his side. Leaving food around the house as grown adults, that's unacceptable. It don't matter where it's at. In the living room, in the bathroom. You shouldn't be eating in the bathroom. But if it's in the bathroom, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, if you're not eating the food, throw the shit in the trash. Like, that's just common sense. So I'm fully on his side, but Adam was saying, like, we should talk about you being in a communal space. They start going back and forth. Nany's trying to calm Turbo down, saying it's too early for this shit, yada, yada, yada. And Turbo and Adam, they're still going back and forth about the food. And Turbo's pretty much taking up the living space because he don't want to sleep in them beds. But Turbo says he's tired of taking the food out and taking it to the trash when they just leaving shit around. And Nany starts hollering at Turbo. It's enough, enough, enough. Turbo's still talking, obviously, because he got a point. Like, I would still be talking too. But he then tells Nany to not yell at him because she was yelling at him. They were gaslighting him. But Nany ends up shouting at him. Turbo then returns back to yelling at her because she's yelling at him. What do you think he's going to do? Like, you can't yell at me and then tell me to not yell, and then you're yelling at me. Like, be for real. Then Melissa gets involved, telling him not to scream at a woman. I understand not to talk to a woman that type of way, but she don't need to talk to him like that. Like, You're yelling in my face. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to yell right back. Get the fuck out of my face. So they start going back and forth too. And Nany's now worried because they haven't even competed in the mission because they're all sitting there ready to go to the mission, the daily challenge. And they already beefing with the rest of the house essentially. But they disperse to head off to the challenge. And the challenge today is heights over water. Devin sees and already immediately knows what type of challenge it is. Obviously, she's nervous. But it's called Shooting for the Star. It's a timed event. A very cheap challenge, if you ask me. Like, it was very uneventful. But they have to solve a puzzle and then jump on this quad and drive it off the plank and reach out and hit a star. The team that does it the fastest wins. That's literally all it was. We're going to skip through a lot of this, but Nany and Turbo, they weren't even talking during this challenge. But of course, once they finished the challenge, they immediately started talking because they killed it. Like, they killed it. And they sitting there talking about, I guess our therapy is these challenges, which it low-key is. But Nicole and Melissa, they were the only team that was really struggling with that puzzle. They missed the star. Veronica and Katie did good with the puzzle, but when it got to them running that thing off the plank, they couldn't even reach the star, so they missed it. But everybody else did essentially well. Now, the top 4 teams that were really, really closely together was Dario and Ashley. No shock there. Shane and Devin. Good job, Devin. Steve and Adam, and Turbo and Nany. No shock there with those top 4 teams. The winning team was no shock. Steve and Adam. I think is this their first time winning a daily challenge? We know they've won them eliminations, but regardless, this is a team that you don't want in the final. Nany, Dario, and Frank obviously are nervous because they know any one of them could be chosen. But back at the house, Melissa's sitting outside eating, and Nicole comes up to her and is pretty much talking to her, and Melissa's pretty much saying, like, I'm gonna go fuck with Turbo. I'm gonna go take this plate and leave it in his living room, leave it in the living room, and put it by his pillow. And Nicole's like, don't do that, because we don't need no more enemies. Melissa's like, essentially at this point, he is my enemy because he done told me to shut up. So that's just where they're at with that. But they go out for the night and everything. And Dario and Ashley, they're trying to strategize and figure out what they can do to possibly avoid being the house vote, even though they know they're probably gonna be. But Veronica, we see her and Shane conversing. And she's asking Shane, like, why you just won't vote with me to vote in Nany and Turbo? I was on Shane's side with this. Why would he vote in somebody that is a number for him, which also could in turn be a number for you? Like, if they're, because as we know, Nany and Devin have gotten extremely close, and Devin and Turbo already have an existing friendship. So that's a number in Shane's pocket, which Shane could then put in a word for you, Veronica, to keep you protected with Nany and Turbo, and then they end up winning challenges too, so that could help you out. But then again, in the same breath, I understand why Veronica's doing it, because Nany and Turbo are a strong team. But Shane ends up saying that you can get Dario and Ashley and Frank and Sam, you and Melissa, to vote in Nany and Turbo, and you'll still have the numbers. We don't have to do that, which will then protect us, obviously. But Veronica ends up saying, why can't you just help? Like, she's just on that too. And Shane's like, listen, if they win the elimination and they come back and we voted them in, we won't have that safety anymore. I'm like, exactly. Like, Shane's logic was making the most sense. But Veronica ends up saying that she has a lot of pressure from other people that are voting her way because they know that Shane is essentially in the middle and not really picking a side. And Shane was like, then vote us in then. Like, shit, like, if it's that big of a deal, vote us in. And I'm right there with him. I'd have been like, if it's that big of a deal, vote us in. I'm not moving. I'm not budging. And Veronica's like, well, you've been my friend for 20 years. And Shane says, yeah, but you're threatening me and I'm in alignment with you. But you flat out told me, like, how dare you make this decision without me? Talking about the decision that he had made the last episode, I think it was. But Veronica ends up saying, yeah, on that day that I won, why would you come up with a plan behind my back on the day that I won? You're my friend. You're supposed to be, like, riding with me. Shane was like, Devin made the plan. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, did Devin make the plan? Or was he just using it as a scapegoat? But he gets in his confessionals and was pretty much stating like him and Devin's plan is to play the background, aka like be in the middle. And he's telling Veronica essentially everything she wants to hear. But he ends up saying Frank and Sam were targeting Adam and Steve, and you, Veronica, know that it's true. Frank comes over because he hears his name. Devin also comes over as well. So they're sitting there listening now. And Shane was like, we're heated because of our friendship. Because Frank was like, it's over here getting heated. And he's like, we're heated over our friendship and not because of you. and you're not in this conversation. Okay, like, get the fuck out my face. Shane and Frank's beef is gold. It's good TV. I want to see it more. They need to get on the main show. Like, these two are giving the entertainment that this is the challenge. Like, Frank and Shane are bringing that back. But Frank ends up saying, I don't think it's a conversation that needs to be had. Devin says, amen, let's wrap it up. But Frank ends up saying that Shane is so threatened by him and Veronica's friendship or like partnership in this game. And it's like, I can't help the fact that she liked me more than you. Like, essentially, Veronica, like I said, her game is more aligned with Frank's than Shane's. Because like Frank and Veronica both had the same goal. And when I say the same goal, their goal is to get out them strong players, them strong teams, and ride it to the end with the weakest teams to make it easier for them. Not saying that Shane's road is not the same, but Shane has a more difficult game because him and Devin are on two opposite sides of the house. Frank can control Sam. Veronica, to this extent, can control Katie. Whereas Shane and Devin can't necessarily, they can go either way. They're both alphas. They're working really well together right now, but it could go either way. They don't have that automatic, okay, I can tell my partner to do this and they're going to do it. So that's where they're at with it. But Melissa, she ends up coming to talk to Turbo, and who is over there, he done found some lounge room where he's over there by himself, chilling. That would be me. If I'm tired, I'm an introvert. I'm an introverted extrovert. I need my peace and my alone time. I'd have been over there quiet too. But here she come, disturbing his peace. Again, I'm on Turbo's side. She comes over talking to him, telling him that he needs to be more respectful because with the people that he's living with. I said, first of all, Melissa, you and the rest of the house also need to be more respectful to him and the people that he's living with. Because if he don't want, as a human being, don't want dirty shit and trash laying around the house, what is the issue with that? That's disrespectful to be leaving shit all around the house. So, and she also then says it's not nice for him to tell her to shut up when she's sticking up for her friend. Your friend didn't need sticking up for. That's the whole point. But Turbo ends up saying when two people are arguing, the third person essentially don't even need to get involved. I agree. Unless it's getting like that or like hands is really being thrown. But they start going back and forth, and Nany's trying to de-escalate it. But Nany ends up telling Melissa, just end it. It's not that deep. But Melissa ends up walking out, telling him that he's not a 3-year-old toddler. He's a grown man, and he needs to act like it. And she walks out. But Nany ends up telling Turbo, essentially, like, you got to learn to live and respect the people that you're with. Again, like I just said, same thing needs to be said to them. Clean up your shit. Like, he shouldn't have to be going around here cleaning up after grown adults. Like, let's be for real. But Nany starts hollering at him, and he gets up, as he should. And he was like, I just wanted to be in my corner, and people keep coming over here attacking me. Literally, like I said, disturbing his peace. But Frank, he's seeing the turmoil between Nany and Turbo, and that's his end to get into Adam and Steve's ear to try and get that vote off of him. But the house vote. We get to the house vote. Dario and Ashley vote for Nany and Turbo, and they do the same. They vote for them as well. Melissa and Nicole, Devin and Shane, and Katie and Veronica, they vote for Dario and Ashley. Katie ends up saying it was for strategy, and TJ ends up asking her, okay, so what's the strategy? Like, what is your strategy? Katie says, we're not about to share that. Like, that'd be silly. Like, why does he keep asking them what their strategy is to pretty much get them to tell their game? But Frank ends up butting in and telling the game. But Frank ends up saying it's to free up a star. Both teams knew that coming in. Like, it's getting down to the wire, and I'm trying to be respectful to both teams. I said, oh, that's what you're doing. You trying to save your ass because whichever one of these teams go in, if they come back, you're looking good because you're trying to tell the truth in regards, but they know who you are, Frank. But Frank ends up saying that, and Shane ends up saying, so who are the teams going in? Again, their back and forth cracks me up. Frank says any of the star holders except for Steve and Adam. Shane says that means you and Sam. Frank said, is that a threat? Shane said it's not my choice. Shane says that he essentially wants to make sure that everybody remembers that Frank and Sam also do have a star. They're not off the table. Exactly. But Frank and Shane, they start going at it, and Davin's trying to calm Shane down. But Frank and Sam, they end up voting themselves in. Sam was thrown off because she's just following Frank's lead. But Dario and Ashley, they're the vote that's going in. They're going into the jungle. After the vote, Frank low-key crashing out about Shane being messy. And he's talking to Adam about it in the room with Katie and Veronica. And Adam's like, I'm not writing y'all off. Like, Frank was pretty much asking, like, are you even thinking about putting us in? Are we at risk to even go in? And Adam's like, I'm not writing y'all off. I'm not, like, taking y'all off the table. But I want a deal that y'all wouldn't send us in if y'all win. Frank ends up saying, like, they're not even in a position, like, him and Sam are not even in a position to be threatening anybody because they're not really going to win any challenges. But then again, Frank, you got your hands in everybody's pot, and you are playing a very, very good political game, which also could be a threat. We know it's half and half. Yes, you can win the missions, but if you ain't got a good social game, if you ain't winning the missions, you going in. Frank got literally... if Frank was playing this game as a solo, he would be the biggest threat in this game because he's smart and he can win challenges and he's very physical. Sam is the question mark with that team. So that's why he's, of course, downplaying him and Sam's worth in this game because he's pretty much trying to make it seem like, okay, we just a layup. So why are you worried about us? Like, why are you coming for us? But Shane ends up telling Steve and Adam in another scene with him and Devin that we're assuming there's 2 or so eliminations left because there's only so many teams left. And he says if Dario and Ashley come back and Frank and Sam are still in this house, they can throw in 2 star holders. And you know for a fact, Frank will be coming for the strongest teams, which would be y'all as they voted for y'all 4 times, which means you will be the target. Very smart pitch, Shane. But Adam says, like, we have a handshake with Frank. Devin said what I said. She said, I wouldn't believe that because he's made it very clear that his sole purpose being here is to take out strong players. And we all know Frank ain't got no loyalty to nobody but Frank and Sam by association. If Sam was not his partner, he ain't got no loyalty to her either. But Devin then says as well, Shane has made it pretty clear, pretty much kind of like backing Shane to pretty much put the trust on their team with Adam and Steve. Shane has made it clear that he wants to run with Shaw and Katie and Veronica, which, as we know, Katie and Veronica are Adam and Steve's #1 allies. So that's just putting in a good word. Like, we just want to work with Shaw. Like, take our word for it. Do what we want you to do. But they're kind of playing with the idea, Steve and Adam, they're playing with the idea of possibly throwing them in. But Shane ends up saying, like, if Nany and Turbo return, he'll come for y'all, or Frank will come for them. But if Dario and Ashley return, you're going to be the target because Nany and Turbo were the only other team that Frank was really trying to get out for real, as the strong team. If they're gone and Dario and Ashley are back, which is a number for them, who you think they're coming for? They're coming for y'all. Y'all the strongest team here. But Shane and Frank, again, hilarious. They start talking in a room. Frank's like, you're so obsessed with me. Like, didn't that speech, it was some bullshit. Like, all I'm asking for is some respect. Shane said, you've been saying Adam and Steve's name 4 times in a row. You basically been spearheading and masterminding this whole shit going on. Like, why are you sitting here acting like this is some bullshit? But Shane ends up saying that Adam and Steve are too trusting of wanting to work with Frank, which I agree. Like, Frank is not nobody's friend in this game, even though I would be Frank. I would be Frank. Like, I'm here to win the money. Like, fuck y'all. Like, but they start going back and forth about who loves each other more, and they being petty and whatnot. And you could tell Shane gets a rise out of just like playing with Frank. Like the little faces he be making. He's hilarious this season. I have never liked Shane, but Shane is cracking me up. But Frank is entertaining too. They both are very entertaining. Then we get to the elimination. Steve and Adam, they end up voting in who? Nany and Turbo against Dario and Ashley. We know there's going to be a star available for the challenge next week, which is exactly what Veronica wanted. Like, it literally worked in her favor without her having to do it. But Shane, he says it's stupid for Adam and Steve because Frank has been targeting them. I do agree. But the elimination is called Hold Up. The way TJ described it was like, I'm not typing all that down. But watching it, I'm like, they just essentially have to solve a puzzle while switching every 3 minutes. Like, one person is holding the puzzle piece up as they're literally trying to get the puzzle together. And they have to switch every 3 minutes until they finish it. But essentially, Nany and Turbo, they won the elimination. Dario and Ashley, they're getting eliminated. Now their star is up for grabs. Veronica's happy, like I said, because her plan worked. And Dario and Ashley, they're leaving better than they did before. But it looks like next week, Devin ends up catching Frank in some shit, which might end up working against Frank and Sam. But we'll see. But if y'all got this far, thank you so much. Please thumbs up the video if you haven't already. Drop a comment. Share the video. Just do that. Share that for me. Like, put it somewhere. And then subscribe if you're new here. But I'll see y'all next week. We are 9 episodes in, and I'm still here. Might be getting ready to finish it. Bye.